Hello, it's Nicola again. I made some video before talking about Czech healthcare system on NHS. I decided to go ahead and give you more detailed information about how can we mend it and why it's not working. Last time I was talking about the money. They are basically going away from a system because the extension to make the healthcare access itself swallows most of the money. I'll give you an example. For example, my husband, he's British, and he had a problem with the back and he needed a disc replacement. But basically, well, what we did was we had a magnetic screening done in Britain, and then it's been sent to one hospital in the Czech Republic for analysis to make it faster, and then it's been decided it needs an operation. So how the procedure works in Britain? People think that these lock-in, the gate lock-in from the healthcare saving any money, but it's actually not, because it drains money out of the system. People doesn't have access to the doctors when they need, and then you pay for this blockage basically, which is administration, lesser specialists who are not specialized enough to make a decision, so have to pass it to somebody else, and then you have all these chains of people who cannot help you, but you pay money for them. So in the end you will end up paying for an empty shell and having no healthcare and no money. As simple as that. So my husband, after this diagnosis, he went to, or he's supposed to go to a physiotherapist, which he did only to discover that she's been 2 months off. That means that is a visit that he's been actually booked, but that person wasn't in. So he had to go to GP, which obviously is paid for, empty visit, to be re-referred, and he decided to go privately to the physiotherapist. So he went to the sports center to the physiotherapist, and then he's been referred to the spinal physiotherapist, which is like above, more highly educated. And so all these procedures took money and nothing's been achieved, you see. When the beverage system has been designed, I believe that Lord Beveridge might not have any better option to not make him a guilty one, if you want. But the structure itself, to have this limited access and more basic core, it's highly unstable, because if you are already struggling to get somewhere referred, and then imagine that something happens and the doctors are leaving the country, or you just can't keep. It's even more difficult to keep pace with the increasing demand. So this system itself is highly unstable, and as I said, the money goes away without being invested into the patients. So it's been never designed to work in the first place. And the second thing is this privatizations. Why would David Cameron and Tony Blair sell the hospitals to increase the competitiveness when you could have, saving the money and invest into the specialists in the national hospitals and make them more motivated? And the problem is that every time now the government, either is England or Scotland, is making an investment, the government is feeding all these apparatus before the money actually goes somewhere that can be useful for the people. So without the reform of the system, you won't be able, you'll be just trying to maintain the level, maybe fighting hardly for survival, but nothing can significantly improve. And I'm very angry with the attitude of Bransons and etc. Just milking from the people who, who needs to be looked after, and the money goes away. It leaves you even with less money for patients and to be checked in time, and it's just a pure business, and it's totally inhuman. I can tell you another thing about drugs. Most of the European countries has possibility to buy drugs which are approved by the European standards, and you can pay, either you can have them for free, which is now limited, but they have to provide equivalent for some groups of drugs that are necessary for your survival and maintenance of life. You can have a same group of drugs, but something that it's not considered necessary. It's the same group, but it's maybe a slightly better quality or different producer that you don't have contract with, and so on. So you can pay part of it. You can pay maybe what is above the budget. Like NHS got budget. Why NHS cannot do this? And then you can have drugs who are fully priced, and you can buy. I don't see anything undemocratic by doing this. I actually think it's democratic because it gives you options. And to me, the democracy, if it should be equal for everyone, equal options. But mind you, once these options are closed, it turns directly into dictatorship. So I would think that it's not a bad thing to have a choice to pay what is above the budget. Obviously, you have to control and check with pharmaceutical sellers because they try to bribe people. But simply, you've got electronic receipt, and you would see if it's any significant increase, then you can do something about it. Czech Republic is the country who's got lowest tax on drugs. I mean, not tax. The profit added to the price of the drugs, that goes to the pharmaceutical company and the seller. The pharmaceutical company takes 26% and the seller 6%. That's 32%. It's the lowest, surcharge on the drugs that you can have. So imagine how much money are making the pharmaceutical companies in other countries. It's absolutely shocking, and it's up to the government to negotiate. In my first video, I was talking about these systems of insurance by the government, which is like NHS, and also the insurance companies who are not really insurance companies by itself, because they are created by the Czech ministerial resorts. Like, for example, a company for the soldiers, but anyone can have access to it. So it's like a military insurance, banking insurance, foreign ministry insurance, internal ministry insurance, internal ministry insurance, and there is firemen's insurance, and so on. So basically what this is, these are not profitable insurance companies. These are, as I said, 6 out of the 9 are owned by the ministerial resorts of the government. All of them are checked, and the main one has been created as a first for everyone, which was like a common insurance office. It has to be even approved by the parliament. And the government is always checking and making it harder and harder for the companies to, cheat or have profits above the agreement. So these are non-profit insurance companies, and that's why in Czech Republic are only 11% of the profit companies that I don't even know about, because nobody needs them, because you can make it cheaper and the healthcare is accessible to everyone. Who is insured? Everyone. It's by the law. Everyone has to be insured, even if you are not working. Obviously, it's paid for you. Foreigners who are working in Czech Republic, they are also insured by the law, and also their families. So there are some people, obviously, who come here and doesn't have temporary permission to stay. But even they, if they are working, they and their families are covered. So there is a limitations for people who are not working here and who are not having a permanent permission to stay. But with the temporary, you need to be working, at least the main person from your family. But that is the only restrictions for people who are not working here and who are not residents, permanent residents. So this is how it works. You know, it's not about profit. It's about making the healthcare accessible and sustainable. Sustainable in the first place, because you need to have a system that works like an ecosystem. Otherwise, you are just trying fixing something infixable, and in the end, you will end up with empty shell, which is already happening in Britain. You have nothing. You pay taxes, and it goes to the administration, and it goes to people who are trying to keep you away from healthcare because they are not qualified enough. I understand that this is made to cover the problem with not enough specialists. But if you carry on like this, it's going to collapse. So you cannot really cheat on healthcare. You cannot cheat on the care that is supposed to be backed up by the government and available to everyone. You know, you can't make profit. You can't milk these things, because these things are the most the bastions of humanity, and you need to protect them. I'm shocked, you know, because there's only steps that it can stabilize NHS and make it more sustainable, and British government saying constantly to cheat on it. You can't do this, it will never work. So what you need is, if you have enough specialists, or a specialist can cover at least, you know, certain amount of time to be seen, obviously you've got much more stable healthcare. In Czech Republic, we have small clinics available in every quarter of the town, every outskirts of the town, of the village, and you've got it's called the ambulance specialists, and they are working either whole day or in the morning or in the afternoon, and so you go directly to the specialists. You don't need a GP referral. You do have a GP existing sitting there as well, but it's only like when you have a flu or something general, very general, you know. But you go to directly to eye specialists, otorhinolaryngologist, which is the nose, ears, and throat specialists. You've got sometimes physiotherapy as well. Sometimes X-ray. You do have a gynecologist, because every woman is entitled for 2 free checks up with a gynecologist a year. Prevention, that's what is not in Britain now. And people are discouraged, unfortunately, by saying, oh, these devices are not accurate. And it's absolutely shocking, because the problem is not the devices are not accurate. The problem is that if you find something, you will need another examination, and it just obviously cannot afford it. So it's rather risking people's life. And late diagnosis, most of the problems are not a mistreatment, it's a late diagnosis. Anyway, so every woman goes straight for their gynecologist, and they've got ultrasound, so they even see you inside. And then obviously you have this access to a different contraception you can even pay for, but at least you have a choice. In Britain now, for example, there was this contraception that was very modern and low hormonal, very sensitive for the timing to take it, Yasmin, and it is new improved is 10 years old, so-called new for here version, which is even lighter, but unfortunately hasn't been approved, not because of unsafety, just because of the bureaucratic problem of the money. And I asked the health board why you cannot pay what is above the budget. Not doing it. So anyway, this is another example how it's undemocratic, in my opinion, it is. So you've got the gynecologist, and every child has got its own pediatrician, her or his own pediatrician, since the birth until the age of 15. Which means if you are a child or you have children, you go to the pediatrician and definitely feel safer, Hospitals doesn't kick people out like here in such an inhuman behavior. Calling people bed takers is absolutely shocking, and I heard it from every member of a representative of each political party. These are not bed takers, these are human beings, people who are sick enough to be put in a hospital, and this is not a race to get rid of them. to save money, because in the first place the healthcare system should be different and should be looking after people. And I also discovered a few years ago that the doctors who, the GPs, you know how many people are going to GPs for just to be referred. So I asked Health Board in Edinburgh to do conveyor research, how much money actually wasted due to beverage system and the restrictions and the re-referrals just to visit for a referral. Unfortunately, it's 2 years on and didn't happen yet. Yeah, so I was talking about these visits, and so basically the healthcare, you know, it's losing money and it's unnecessary, and this money could be spent and really invested, make it efficient. But you have to build this infrastructure. You know, as I said, you need enough specialists, at least more than now, and that means no limitations, no caps. Edinburgh University is always full of students. I've got this from a manager. I don't know how many students are foreign students and how many students will leave, but obviously the priority is to keep this low, you know, the doctors who live in Britain. And so this is the only way you can stabilize the NHS, to have more staff, motivate them, even give them bonuses. You still spend all this money on the private companies who are not keeping your money in the pocket, you know, in an NHS, because that's completely irrational. They do make profits. The only thing is that the reports are reached, and they basically say that they didn't cost more, but it's not true. That the treatment is always less in amount of people, you know. So it's just an excuse, and they are just killing NHS from inside. They are ripping into pieces and making profit, and there's no way how you can save it in this attitude. So I would like to, as I said, I also tried to publish in a newspaper, but unfortunately I supposed to be backed by a politician that I was in contact with, and she pulled out in the end. Unfortunately, this newspaper refused, because I was not, you know, worthy enough and trustworthy enough to be published without backing up by the local politician. So I would like this survey to be done, because if you do have this survey done, knowing how much money are wasted through the beverage system and all these referrals, these nonsenses, really, then you would know how that you need actually less money, or you know that you have to focus on the building a solid basement for NHS. You have to. There is no any other way how to do it. Avoidance, escape. And if you even now, finally, after these 2 years since I've been in the Edinburgh Parliament, they started to look on the different, you know, models in the world. But it says this is not enough, because, as I said, there is no escape from solid base of the NHS service, solid structure, a solid frame. That each step on this frame supports the next one. It's depending on it. As I said, it's like an ecosystem. So even if they try to look at the different countries now, finally, because I found the British people very arrogant in a way that they think they know the best, and they don't look in the smaller countries. And you see, the smaller countries, they are doing things differently, but since we are in this planet, I think we should be looking at each other if you want to improve something and you don't know how. And it's not the best because it's been first, not exactly first in NHS, first free healthcare, yes, but this Bismarck system, which is in, I was talking about Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, Bulgaria, all the communist countries, but also it's been a little bit mixed with Semashek system, which was the minister in the Soviet Union. But this Bismarck system is actually coming from the Germany and Austria, as you can hear, Bismarck. And that was the companies were looking after the employees and their families originally. They paid towards the healthcare. That's where it comes from. And this is now the government via employers who pays for healthcare, or even the government itself when you are not working. So yeah, I'm thinking what to do next, because it's very frustrating knowing how much money is being invested each year again, trying to help, but without changing the system, the money just slides through these holes. So if anyone's got any idea and would like me to speak, I would be happy to come and speak, because I think it's better always to have direct communication than doing something through the papers anyway. And there are millions of Europeans who will tell you the same thing, and I really think that, especially now with the Brexit, you have to really look in these countries how they manage. Czech Republic's GDP, annual GDP in a worldwide scale, is only 0.030%. Imagine how small it is. And they only pay 7.8% of this small GDP into the healthcare. It used to be over 8 by 2015, but it's been changed. So, and as I told you, you've got a direct access to the specialist, no waiting lists, no queuing, no hustle to get medicine. You have to think about it. It is possible, even for smaller countries, So that's why it's so frustrating for me, because I know there's a way of doing things. I know it's very difficult, because you cannot maybe easily fulfill all these steps to stabilize NHS, make this structure. But you have to try, because if you don't, you only prolong all these sufferance, and it will get worse. So that's my message to you today, and please don't hesitate to contact me. It was nice to speak to you, and if I know something else, I will let you know. Thank you. Bye.